Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, loves. My name is Mariah Sincere, aka the Passport Sis. For those of y'all who are new to my channel, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you like what I'm talking about. For those of y'all who are returning, welcome back. I appreciate all of the new subscribers that I got today. I put out that video about Pastor Manning, and it's still doing some numbers. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, Lord. Okay. With that said, guys, we have a very, very interesting show today. We are going to be talking about Nick Fuentes and his opinions on women. If you are sensitive, this is not going to be the show from you for you. Understand that I'm a woman. So, of course, I'm going to have the perspective and the bias of a woman, but I also try to be open minded, objective, and get out of my feelings and listen to what people are saying. So, if you are easily offended, this is not going to be the episode for you. We are going to be talking about voting rights in this country as it pertains to not just women, but individuals that don't necessarily have any skin in the game or individuals who don't necessarily need to be voting. So we'll talk about that. With that said, for those of y'all who don't know, I am an American who is living abroad. So right now I'm in Colombia. I've been here for a year. Next month, actually this weekend, I'm going to be in Peru for a few months. And then, I can only stay in Peru 90 days at a time as an American tourist. I will probably hit Mexico at the end of the year. So, with that said, for those of y'all who want to do the same thing that I am doing, you just don't know where to start. Maybe you psych yourself out. You think it requires more than what it actually does. Book a coaching call with me. What I will do is I will listen to your situation and we will develop a plan to help you make this happen, right? I also do coaching calls for people who are going through bad breakups, toxic situation with your parents. I've been through it all. Those of y'all who have been following me, y'all know my story. When I come up here and speak to you, I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody who grew up poor, in foster care, somebody who went long periods of time with no lights or food in the house, in and out of the juvenile detention center. Okay. And I managed to completely transform and change my life to what I wanted to be as an adult. So, anybody who is interested in that type of help, my link to my website is in the description box, ThePassportSis.com. I got you. With that said, if you're just now coming in, please hit the like button because that helps people know that I am on live. So what I'm doing right now is I am going to be reacting to this video where Nick Fuentes is on a panel and he says that he doesn't think that women should vote. Uh, for those of y'all who don't know who Nick Fuentes is, he is a young, I think he's 26 years old. He is, I guess what some would say, ultra conservative. Many things that he says, to me, is just common sense. And I actually agree with him. I don't want to say that he got the whole black fatigue. Um, I don't think he got the whole black fatigue conversation started, but like he popped it, like he took it to a whole nother level because he just recently did an interview that went viral with Candace Owens. And then he put out like a Dear Black People video letter to Black people explaining why he does not want to be around Black people. And a lot of people, even a lot of Black people, found themselves agreeing with what he said. Um, so let's see how y'all feel about what he has to say in regards to women. Is he on the money? Is he on point? Is he valid in what he has to say? Let me pull it up. Is women voting? I'm also going to revisit that interview that he had with Candace Owens. Give me 1 second. I know YouTube didn't take it off. Nick Fuentes says women won't. Okay, here we go. I found it. So, mm, oh, he also said women shouldn't go to college. Wow. Give me 1 second. Okay, now the video doesn't want to pop up. Okay, I'm gonna look for that video. Until then, I found another video where Nick Fuentes says women shouldn't go to college. So this is from Woman Propaganda. Let's see what he says.
Happy.
Absolutely.
She's like, that's my son. I'm super proud.
Absolutely.
Okay. And your sister as well?
Oh, often they'll either defer the age at which they have kids, or it's not a priority. If they do have kids, the kids are in daycare. It's, they keep their job. It's about, having two incomes and everything. And, we took a pretty substantial cut in the household income. So my mom could stay home and be there for us.
Gotcha.
So
would you say, it's sort of a loaded question, would your mom say that she's happy the way she raised you?
Oh, absolutely.
She's happy.
Absolutely.
She's like, that's my son. I'm super proud.
Absolutely.
Okay. And your sister as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
Michael, I wanted to just double down on that for a second. His solution was sort of religion. What's your solution to fix America?
Actually, no, I wanted to ask Nick about something he said previously, which was, you mentioned before that women are deferring.
I'm not going to lie. And I'm sure this is not all of women who chose not to go to college and get married, but and I don't have any statistics on this. Let me say why I personally don't feel like that would have been the best option for somebody like me. Before I had my daughter, I never had the desire to have children. So I was never one of those girls who sat up and dreamed about my wedding day, getting married, sitting down and having kids. And I saw my mom was married. She was married twice. So I saw what marriage looked like, but honestly and truly, it wasn't appealing. And my mom, she wasn't really that stay at home and take care of the kids type of woman. Even when she was married, her husband paid all the bills, but he did all the cooking and cleaning too. So I never really saw marriage in a traditional light, but I also will say I don't like the way that their marriage was. I wasn't there was nothing about their marriage that made me be like, I need this in my life. And that might rub some of my, this, I'm a conservative leaning channel, so that might rub a lot of y'all a particular way, but I just have to be honest about who I am in my life experience. After I had my daughter, I love my daughter because she was my daughter. So the crazy thing is, before I got pregnant with my daughter, and I got pregnant during college, I had been with her dad for 5 years. I'd known him since I was 12 years old. And before I had my daughter, I used to always say, if I get pregnant, I'm getting an abortion. And at that time, I felt like I meant that. And I truly do feel like if you are supposed to have the child, God will not let you not have that child. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I got pregnant, abortion never even crossed my mind, even though at the time, and this is totally my fault. I take accountability by the time I had got pregnant with my daughter, I had known at least a year and a half that I didn't want to be in that relationship anymore. And I don't want to necessarily get into why I stayed and all of that, but I just chalk a lot of it up to being young, inexperienced, and not feeling like anybody would want me if I left. Like, I had very low self-esteem, right? And I don't want to get into that relationship. We have a really good co-parenting situation now. But I'll be honest with you. I'm not anti-marriage, and I feel like if I found somebody who could understand me and let me be me without trying to control me, like, for example, I don't want to be in a situation where, y'all remember those videos that came out with, was it Steven Crowder and his wife, where he was clearly being narcissistic? I believe that that's him. I don't want to be in that situation. And every time I talk to married women in public, in public on social media, they make it seem like they love serving their families. They make it seem like they're in the best situation and that everybody's just hating on them. But I'm a person who people feel very comfortable telling me about what they're going through in private. And like, they're all miserable. They're all like, so it's like, even when I see the pictures, I'm like, that's not what I aspire to, because I know you're not. I know genuinely and truly you're not happy. You just did this because maybe you didn't go to college, so you got with an older man who has more money that can take care of you. So they're not happy. So honestly and truly, it's the married people that are keeping single people single women single. Also, it doesn't help that, like, when you try to date in the dating pool, it seems like the single men are, it's either one or two things. The single men have been like hurt so bad that they're like, we're staying home. Or you have the single men who are still dating, but they're ultra promiscuous, and you don't want to date those. And then the ones who were like really out here more than anything are married men. So it kind of makes you be like, okay, well, what is the value in getting married as a woman if all the women that are married are telling me that they're miserable, and like the married men are either miserable or just ungrateful because they want to date all us single gals? So I'm not saying I would never get married. I'm saying married people are not making it look appealing. So like, when I hear somebody like Nick Fuentes say women should not go to college, that they should like immediately get married and start having kids, I see that as a recipe for disaster, because every woman that I know in real life that did that ended up getting a divorce later, or she was unhappy, or she didn't like that she had that many kids, and she always says she wished she would have done something different. Even when I think about my grandmother was married to my grandfather until he died. I think they got married when she was like, I want to say they met when she was 19 and he was 16, but he lied about his age. This was a long time ago. And I think they got married when he was about 18, and then they stayed together all that time. But they had everybody in the family knew that the marriage was very miserable. My grandmother always had all these hopes and dreams, like, oh, she wanted to be a caterer, but like, still to this day, and my grandmother's like in her 70s, she just basically made her whole life about that marriage until he passed away, even though he was extremely mean to her. And she completely served him, but now because of that situation, she has a very bad relationship with her children. And when I look at my grandmother, I see broken dreams and promises. And women don't necessarily have to go to college, but I do think women and men need a time in their life, at least before 25, where they get to figure themselves out. And I know a lot of men, when they hear that, they think that means that you're out sleeping. When they hear that, they think the woman is out there sleeping with everybody. No, I mean, like, go figure out what you want to do with your life. Go figure out if you want to be married. Go figure out your likes and your dislikes. Because now when you get into your 30s, you start seeing all the people who got married fresh out of high school, they're getting a divorce now. Hey, Jamal, what's up? Hey, so it's kind of like, what's today's topic? Women, basically, we're going to get into Nick Fuentes saying that women shouldn't vote, but like we're also just in general talking about, the state of women, relationships, and marriage in America. I do think though, we have to kind of be like realistic about the situation. So women had the right to vote since the 19th Amendment. When was that passed? Was that passed in 1918? It was somewhere between 1910 and 1920. Don't quote me exactly, but it was somewhere. It was during the Progressive Era, right? So women got the right to vote. And not all women at that time wanted the right to vote, but many did want the right to vote. And since then, like, women have slowly gotten rights. Like, women have been able to get a bank account. Women have been able to own property. These are all things that women did not have access to before they got the right to vote. And I think that on the conservative side, you kind of have this romanticism going on where a lot of women like Candace Owens are saying that women are happiest when they're in the home, but people are seeing the contradictions because Candace Owens, if she wanted to stop working now, her husband is not a brokey. If she wanted to stop working now and go take care of her children and just make her life all about that, she could, but she doesn't want to. We even see the contradictions with these trad wives who are always, oh, I'm in the home baking and cooking. But like, ma'am, if you were really about that trad wife life, then you wouldn't even be on the internet trying to make money. So we see the grift. We see that these women actually do want careers and they do want to make their own money. But at the same time, it doesn't really sit well if you're trying to build a conservative base. Like, for example, most of my subscribers are men. A lot of the times you'll get more men to follow you. You have a better career on the conservative side if you say you rather be in the home. But honestly and truly, men, y'all just have to come to terms with the fact that a lot of these women are lying and full of shit. That it's not true. It's not true. The women that really want to be in the home and make their whole life about their husband and kids, they're not on the internet. You're not going to find them on the internet at all.
Having children because of education and that women should not be educated.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yep.
Okay, just in general, if you are talking about they shouldn't even have we're talking South Sudan, they shouldn't even have high school education or they shouldn't have college education or what?
I'm saying the priority for women should be to get married and have kids. So, but high school, but I don't think they should go to college.
Okay, women should not go to college.
So just to be clear, your highest level of education that you're endorsing for women is high school.
Yeah, and I think, by the way, I think for most people.
¿Ves este clavo? ¿Puedes imaginar el hecho de intentar clavarlo en un trozo de madera con tu mano sin herramientas?
It should be high school.
Okay, you're not endorsing college
but for
even
almost
for
all
men.
women, yeah, I think that the vast majority of women should not be going to college.
Can I ask you?
The vast majority of women should not be going to college, and actually most people should not be going to college.
I mean, let me say this before I listen to the rest of what they're talking about. Most people probably shouldn't be going to college, but it's not my reasoning for why most people probably shouldn't be going to college, especially right out of high school, is because you don't know what you want to do. Like, most of the people that I met in college changed their major at least one time. And in the meantime, they wasted a whole bunch of money, took out an excessive amount of student loans, right? So let's start there. Most people before the age of 25 really don't know what they want to do. In my opinion, the people that do the best in college and are not going there wasting money are the people who are like in their 30s and they've already like lived enough life and they tried things and they failed. So now they're like, okay, I want to go back to college to be a nurse. So they're not going to college to party. You know, they'll sit in class with the younger people, but they're there studying, asking questions, and they're trying to knock it out the way. Maybe they already have another job to where they don't have to take out as many student loans. Another reason why I'll say most people probably shouldn't be going to college is because most people can't afford it. So people should go to college if they can afford to pay for it without having to take out an excessive amount of loans. I mean, honestly, I feel like if you have to take out more than $10,000 worth of loans to go to college, you probably shouldn't go. You can't afford it. You know, it's going to take you a long time to pay it off. I feel like to make a good and beautiful woman happy these days will literally take everything out of me. Okay. I mean, it's going to take everything if the woman doesn't like you. I'll be honest, like a lot of the effort that you have to put in to keep a woman happy depends on whether or not she liked you. That's just to begin with. That's the reality of the situation. It's like it'll likely have to too, but if she's worth it and I have the resources, I'm going for it. I'm seeing both. It depends on the people. And honestly, I hate to say it, but it's conservative married women that are happy. I know I meet so many conservative married women that I talk to who voted for Donald Trump and they complain about their husbands. They do. They do. As a matter of fact, the only woman who I have met who I feel like is genuinely happy in her relationship, like that I'm like, this is no BS. I'm sorry, two. I met two of them. They both got married later on in life. It's two Black women. They both kind of got married. Well, not necessarily later on. One got married at 28. One got married when they were like right at 60, and she got married to a man who was 5 years younger than her, and he was divorced. And like these women's husbands pay the bills. But I wouldn't say it is like a traditional relationship because like, yeah, these women, well, one of them, she doesn't cook at all. So the younger one doesn't cook at all, but she will clean. But her husband's, got money. Now, when she got with him, he didn't have all the money he has. This is my cousin that trains professional boxers. But he's a really disciplined man, and he's not like, oh, she got to be cooking and cleaning. She had a job when their kids were younger. Now she doesn't work. And then the older woman, she doesn't work because they both raised their kids. He pays the bills. She'll cook for him because he pays all the bills, but he's not like, you better have my food ready. It's not that situation. Both of these are liberal women, and I never hear them complain about their husbands. They're always happy. They look good, skin glowing. And they love being married, right? But the conservative girlies that I know who are my age, especially the ones that are married to older men, they hate it. They hate it on the low. They love the financial stability. So they love being able to like take trips and go on outings and take pictures and like say, I have a man to everybody, but they're like, oh, as far as their husband, I feel like if they could switch him out and still get the same benefits with a man that they actually want, they would much rather prefer that. They must all be millennials and Gen Z. Yeah, they are. Like all the millennials and Gen Z conservative women that I know are not happy in their marriages. As a matter of fact, I have another cousin who I feel like is genuinely happy in her marriage, and they're like a liberal, egalitarian type couple. My parents and their friends, especially the white and non-Black ones, are perfectly happy in their marriage, living the average upper middle class lives, but they are mostly boomers. Okay, let's continue.
I agree, especially now that college is mostly a scam. Anyways, guys, I have a clip for you from Valuetainment. Adam Sosnak and Alpha King Nima and some other people are debating Nick Fuentes. Maybe you've heard of him. It is a good debate, and it's pretty funny. I got a little segment clipped out for you. They're all going after him pretty hard. And then I think Alpha King Nima, if I'm not mistaken, he has a pretty good crash out here. So let's enjoy this clip from Valuetainment.
Because you've talked before about the concept of a Catholic theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
In a Catholic theocracy, would you make it illegal for women to go to college?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
What is this, by the way? Is this you're like interrogating me here? I
No,
know
I'm
you're
asking-
prepared. You're ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you. That's why I respect for you as a debater. And so that's why I wanted to ask you this question. But you have said a lot of things. And I think the reason why I'm asking this question is because I did watch you one time on No Jumper and you were one way. And I watched you on Fresh and Fit and you're a different way. And then I watched you on America
Which
First.
is what? What
and
are the differences?
You're on America First and you are a very, very different way.
Like what? What are the differences?
Well, No Jumper, I mean, you were a borderline civil rights activist. I love
really?
everyone.
What way?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Oh, you were just like, I love everyone. I love the Jews.
That's what I say on my show. I said the same thing on my show this week. Somebody came in and said, I hate black people. I said, no racial hatred, none of that.
I have heard him say
You did that, but you did make a statement on your show recently as like, hey, because we are willing to die in a holy war, we're not going to die in a holy war. We're going to make them die in a holy war.
Metaphorically.
Well, I understand. So now it's metaphorically, but you said that on America First. You did not say that on No
I've
Jumper.
never encouraged violence in real life.
Okay.
What, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I literally watched.
Okay. Michael Sartain, I think his name is. Yeah, somebody else take over. I can't debate this kid. And then I'm going to go back 5 seconds here, or 10 seconds. Alpha King Nima makes an attempt to take a shot at Nick, and it's really funny.
So now it's metaphorically, but you said that on America First. You did not say that on No
I've
Jumper.
never encouraged violence in real life.
Okay.
What, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I literally watched you, Nick, say that if Hitler were alive, you and him would gang up and murder a black man that was littering in your community.
Do you want to talk about the full context of that?
I just found that rich because in my old neighborhood in New York City, if you use the N-word, they would fuck you harder than the child porn, I guess, you watch.
What are you talking about? Child porn?
What?
I think your whole crew is packed with pedophiles.
Who?
What?
What happened to
Okay.
your friend Ali?
This is like,
Ali is somebody I went to.
okay, so he's like, I don't know why he's taking this conversation there. So I guess if you don't disagree with somebody, you could just call him a PDF file.
Top the steal with. He was there doing his own event. By the way, what is this? So is this everybody gangs up?
No.
on me?
Hold on.
Let's be clear. Hold on.
Was that not?
That was way
that
out
was
there.
such a flop from Alpha King Nima. That was unbelievable. How painfully awkward
That's
was that
so
whole thing?
awkward.
That was not well executed. Alpha King Nima, you did not do your research. I mean, this is an old debate at this point, but
Stop the steal with. He was there doing his own event. By the way, what is this? So is this everybody gangs up on me?
Let's be clear. Hold on. Relax. Let me do this.
But I just don't want to.
Hold on,
I don't want
hold
to
on.
pander like
Hold on,
Myron
hold
and
on.
Sneeko.
Here's what we're gonna do here, guys. Did we discuss what you want to talk about?
Hey, Nick,
Hold on.
I promise you I will not make a single personal attack. We just have some things that we
Hold
disagree
on.
on.
No, and that's fine, but
Yeah.
it's just
No.
like
No.
This is like people
before
come
it
on.
even gets to
No,
that.
but we could get to all of it. We could get to Ali,
Oh.
and we could get to the statement
Yeah, for
about
sure.
the holy war.
For
We
sure.
could get to both of it, but I just want to make
Yeah.
sure. So it's
Okay,
one
I'm gonna like
versus
that
two.
No.
more, 'cause
But
I just want to make sure.
Hold on.
But you
Let
did
me
do
just-
that. But you did do that to
relax.
Destiny.
Relax.
Though, right?
Guys, here's what we're gonna do here. Okay.
Wait, I just want to say, you
Yeah.
said it was 1 versus 2. You do realize there are 3 other people on this panel as well. So as much as you want women,
So
you know,
it's 1
dumb and
versus 3.
submissive, or here, and I'll rip your
Yeah.
face off if I have to.
Honestly, you'll rip my face.
that was not. I feel like there's a more intelligent way to come at him, because that's not gonna work for you, sis. I'll rip your face off. Women, first of all, y'all need to stop coming at men like that, as if you can whoop them. No, like, let's stop. Most of them are much stronger than you, and if he said the same thing to her, she would be outraged, like, oh, he threatened violence against a woman. So that is not okay. Do I understand that her, like, kind of being offended that he's not acknowledging that there are other people there to debate him? But yeah, but who cares at this point? Just debate the points that he's making and leave the petty stuff behind. That sounds like projection to me. What do you mean, Pig Daddy? Can you explain what you were talking about? What's that sounds like projection? I swear our generation be making up issues to have. Who knows the real reasons why marriages and relationships don't last these days? Lord knows what people are really into. I'm telling you why they're not lasting. The women who I am talking to who are not happy in their marriages are doing what society tells them to do. Get an older man, settle down, and start having babies. They don't actually like or love these men. They don't. When I'm talking to them, they're telling me about, oh, I didn't like him at first. He had to do X, Y, Z, whoop-de-woo. And like, you're not as willing to tolerate BS from somebody that you don't actually like. But this is what society, this is what people like Nick Fuentes are telling, and Candace Owens are telling these women to do. Just shut up, settle down, stay in the house, have the kids. But they are not happy. They are not happy like this. I'm sorry, they're not. Oh, the accusations of PD. Yeah, I'm like, that's so random to bring up without any proof. To me, that's not appropriate. And if I was Nick, I would have went in on him for that.
You say that?
Actually, hold on,
Guys,
Adam,
mute everybody's mic for a second. Mute everybody's mic.
Guys.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to host the show, and it's going to go the way that I want it to go. And when I call on you, you answer. This isn't a gang up situation, okay? We're going to go over a whole host of topics, okay?
أنا اسمي وحيد عمري 7 سنين.
Women, education, religion, men, society. Not sure if you heard about fat ass Lizzo, what she's got going on, virginity. We're going to talk about Candace Owens, women, go woke, go broke, Dylan Mulvaney. There's plenty of topics, guys. All right. So answer what I'm asking you and we'll go accordingly. Nick, they're not probably happy with some of the things you said. Look, as a Jew, I'm not happy, but what I'm not going to have is a gang rape on this show, metaphorically speaking. Okay.
Can I?
Now,
As long as I am able to respond.
with that being said, is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I already see the way this is going.
As long as everything's taken metaphorically
Yes.
and not personally
Exactly.
and victim
So
mentality.
with that being said, you can turn everybody's mic on. I respect everybody here.
Hey,
Catalina.
gang grape.
Great.
Gang grape.
Gang.
Yeah,
gang
like,
grape.
we're on
sir,
YouTube.
you cannot say
So,
that.
and
But could I,
we cool with that?
Yes.
Catalina,
Yes.
the initial conversation was how can we prove American
Sure.
values? Okay. You ran for Congress against Adam Kinzinger in his district, I want to say.
Mhm.
Okay. You're still involved in politics.
Yeah.
You have a vision for America.
Yes.
You're a Republican.
Yes.
Okay, I don't care about anything this girl has to say. Anyways, guys, that's the clip. I'm going to do another one of these from this same debate.
I don't like this clip. They didn't really, this is not a good cut of this conversation that he did here. So basically, yeah, Nick Fuentes says he doesn't think that women should go to college. But to be fair, he also said that he doesn't believe that most men should go to college. So it's fair. I think what people have a problem with is the fact that he's saying that women who don't go to college should be in the house having kids, but a lot of women, they don't want to do that. And I think, and again, I'm saying this as somebody who is very like conservative leaning. I agree with the right on things on most issues more than I agree with people on the left. You know, do I believe in family values and taking care of your home and making your household a priority if you choose to have a family? Yes. Do I believe that it's best to have children within the confines of marriage? Yes. But a lot of young women don't even know that they want to get married yet. And then when you try to like push them into that, again, I meet so many older women. That's another thing. That's another part of the story that conservatives seem to dismiss. And what keeps a lot of people that probably would, in terms of like fiscal policy, be conservative, running back to the Democrats is because a lot of women hear older women talk about how miserable they were in their marriages. And they're like, okay, so is this the life that women should live? So is our whole purpose to reproduce children just so we can be miserable, raise our daughters knowing that they should just reproduce, that their only purpose is to reproduce children just so they can be miserable? And then it kind of seems like, well, what is the point? If that's your purpose, but you don't necessarily like it, why continue with this? And I think the men need to kind of come to the acknowledgement that when women are given a choice, you see what they really want, because that's the thing. When you have women taking care of the home under a system where they have no choice but to do that because they can't have their own bank account, or maybe the job market is primarily for men, and they don't really have any legal protections under the law, you know, we see women in the home under that circumstances, but like when you give women the choice as to whether or not they want to be at home taking care of kids, or they want to be doing something else, or maybe they want to have kids and they want to work and be, they just want to have choices over their life. Women on average are not choosing to stay in the home. Now I think we kind of have reached a situation where all Americans are tired because the economy is just so jacked that you have to work 2 jobs just to pay the bill. And I know a lot of men will make the case, well, yeah, it's because we have to compete with women in the workforce now. And you know what? To that, I'll say that is a valid point. When you have more people who are willing and able to work, then that is going to drive the wages down, right? So I will give men that point. That is true. But at the same time, I don't think women really want to go back to that time where they couldn't work. And I know, again, it's confusing because you will see a lot of women who watch Shira 7 and all of these trad wives who are like, I just want to find a traditional man and I'm tired of paying the bills. But it's not because they want to be in the house. It's because they're either tired or lazy. And then a lot of these women, what you will see is when they can get a man who can provide a steady foundation, they are still figuring out ways to make money, whether that's doing nails or picking up some type of trade or getting on the internet and making videos and content. Women want to make their own money. Even these conservative women who get on the internet preaching that we should be all about family and tradition, they're lying, they're selling dreams because they know it's a fantasy. So there you have this sexual conflict where men and women both have different ideas of what women should do in their lives or be happy doing, or what we should find fulfillment in, and they clash. They clash. A lot of men do things they don't want to do every day. Well, that's true. I would agree with that. And I see that. And I see that, Pig Daddy. There are so many men. I'll go back to me saying that a lot of married men keep single women single because they are in abundance in the dating pool. Any like if you as a single woman get approached by a man, 9 times out of 10, like out in the wild now, because a lot of single men are too afraid, or their ego is too involved, or they have a harder time dealing with rejection than a married man. So like 9 times out of 10, if you get approached by a man in the wild these days, a lot of times these men are married or already in relationships, most likely married. And my assessment of that is because they already have a woman at home. You can't really bruise their ego that much if you don't want to date them. It kind of gives them courage to kind of go out and try to find what they really want while they have a woman at home that is cooking and cleaning. So a lot of single women see that and we're like, well, that woman is getting a raw deal. She's like sitting at home cooking and cleaning. She doesn't really have time to beautify herself, or she doesn't really follow her goals and her dreams, and she's made her life all about this man, and like he's chasing after young hot chicks that he won't require to do any of that for him because the wife is doing it. So it's like, can you blame women for saying, I don't know. At the same time, I do understand men saying, okay, I feel like I'm getting a raw deal with the women now, because a lot of these women don't want to do any domestic duties at all. Like if you ask them to clean up, they say it's slavery. And I'm like, well, don't y'all all live in this house? How is that slavery? There are a lot of women who don't want to cook it all and they don't want to clean it all, but they want to have a man who pays all the bills. And that's just, to me, unless you get married to somebody that is super wealthy, which it's not impossible, but I mean, whatever. That's not going to be the reality for most women. You are going to have to cook your own food and clean your own house. It just is what it is. That's what life is about, though. Prosperity can't be fully appreciated, much less recognized, without the sting of loss and sacrifice as a comparison. Like, I get that and I understand that, but I feel like you have to feel like what you're sacrificing for is worth it. So, for example, when I think of like all these women that I'm telling you about, these younger girls who like settle down with these men who are like 20 years older than them and they hate it and they tell me they hate it. It's kind of, I think about it like this, especially like when I see them on vacation, taking pictures, looking like they're happy. And I'm like, me personally, I would feel miserable. I don't care if it looks good or I'm like, oh, I get to be in this beautiful place. I would not feel like my sacrifice and me putting in all that effort at home was worth it, because now I got to be here with the man that I don't want you. Like, it's not, I don't want you. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying marriage is a bad thing or that women should stay single and never have kids. I'm saying the way that you go about it matters. And it's just, if it's just for financial benefit, you're not gonna feel fulfilled or like that's worth the sacrifice. And that's why like a lot of these women will end up, again, they will end up getting divorced and they will blame the man for as to why they were miserable. And I tell these women, you didn't really want him to begin with. You can't really blame him. You knew you didn't want this man. You had to grow to like him. And then it just wasn't enough. And now they want to blame the men when it's like, really, you're in this situation because you didn't have the courage to sit and wait it out. I'm terrified of the wild. See, Jamal is a single man and he's saying he's terrified to approach women in wild. This is the reality now. I have 18 pounds of hardware in my back. I literally broke my back to provide for my family. Did I want to do that? No. Spinal reconstruction sucks, but I did because I wanted to provide for my family. Okay. I mean, and again, like, first of all, I feel very, I don't want to say I feel sorry for you because you're an overcomer, but I think that's very noble. But you felt like it was worth it. Are you still, I don't mean to be in your business, are you still, you and your wife still together? Do y'all have a good relationship? And I will concede, men do a lot of things they don't want to do. That's why you see a lot of married men in the dating market as well. Men will stay with a woman they don't want to be with for years and years and years, and they will cheat so that they can stay in the relationship. I'm not saying that's you, Pig Daddy. I'm talking about the married men who were in the dating market that scare us single gals away from getting married. A lot of the times they will say, okay, I'm going to stay with this woman. I'm going to pay the bills. I'm going to make sure I take the kids to school in the morning, and I'm going to make sure home life is good, but I don't really want her. I don't really want to like her. I don't really want to be with her. And I'm going to go cheat and have a side relationship. Some men will be in a whole nother relationship for years and years and years just so they can stay in their marriage. This is facts. Dang, she left me. The surgery changed me. Wow. Do you feel like it made you, like, did your attitude change? Or explain that to me if you can. Okay. So here's Nick Fuentes. Y'all, they took the video down where Nick Fuentes was on the panel and he was speaking against all these liberal women and a man. And he was a man, a part of the LGBTQ community. And I feel like it's important to add context because a lot of the times a man that doesn't date women will share the opinion of a woman about women because they don't really have any skin in the game, right? So I remember that he said that he feels like women shouldn't be able to vote because every time women vote, they choose the wrong person. They always vote for liberals, right? And I will say this, as a woman who is conservative leaning, I do have a very difficult time talking to women about politics because they always talk about emotionalism. Like, they never really bring stats into the conversation. They never bring statistics. They never think about, for example, when a lot of women say that we should allow a whole bunch of illegal immigrants into our country, no human is illegal. Like, I'm like, you're the person that probably is at in the most danger when we have unvetted illegal immigration. Why? Because if you have a whole bunch of military age men coming from their country that don't have access to a woman sexually, do you think they are just going to go years and years and years and never sleep with anybody? Then, for example, in a country like here in Colombia, they're used to being able to, if they don't have a woman and they just want to get the urge out, they can go pay a woman $10 or $20 to get it out their system, and it's affordable for them. In the United States, prostitution is not only illegal, but it's much more expensive for a man that's coming over here and is an illegal immigrant, and he doesn't have a woman, he doesn't have a wife. Why do y'all think the rape rates skyrocketed during these last 4 years? I remember I saw a video of a woman in New York, a dude threw a belt and it like looped around her neck, and he dragged her into the alley and raped her. All these illegal immigrants that Trump is sending to El Salvador or catching is, and like, when you listen to a lot of their charges, it has to do with essaying. It has to do with essaying women and children. So it's like, as a woman, you are the most at danger when we have unvetted mass illegal immigration into this country. Yet you're more concerned about showing compassion to strangers that you don't even know than thinking about your own daughters and sons. Because let's be clear, they get boys too. But they will tell you that you are evil, that you are a racist, that you are the scum of the earth because you're thinking about you and yours. And that is completely irrational. And because of things like that, I absolutely do understand when some men say women shouldn't be voting because women vote with their emotions, because en masse they do. I rarely talk to a woman, and I don't think that all liberal women are all women who vote Democrat are overly emotional or unintelligent. What I will say is I have not met many who can articulate why they vote the way that they vote in a logical way. It's honestly, I'm not gonna even hold you. I've never seen it. It's all emotion based. I'm trying to think of one that I met. I'm sure they exist. I've never met them. And then they get upset when you start presenting facts and information to them. They get like emotionally upset. They start throwing insults. So how can you expect people to advocate for you being able to vote when it's all based on emotionalism? But to be fair, if you want to say we should have voter laws based on sex, a lot of men probably shouldn't be voting either, right? Because let's see, how, let me look this up. Who voted? Give me 1 second. I'm looking it up. I'm looking up the stats of who voted for Donald Trump by sex in 2024. I don't know why it's going so slow. Let me ask it again. Why is it giving an error? Okay, so 55% of men voted for Trump in 2024. That's up from 50% in 2020. 46% of women voted for Trump in 2024. That's up from 44% in 2020. So you have about, like, yes, the minority of women voted for Donald Trump, but you had a good amount, like 46%. 46%, that's a lot of women that voted for Trump. It's not like you have men voting for Donald Trump at 55% and women voting for Donald Trump at 20%. So there are a lot of women who are making voting decisions that are not purely based on emotion. I feel like the better measure of whether or not, and then he also said he feels like people who don't have property shouldn't be able to vote because they don't have any skin in the game. I personally feel like the better measure of whether or not somebody should be allowed to vote is an IQ test. Why do I say that? First of all, you can't say that it's racist because an IQ test, how it works, I've taken several in my life. I had to when I was in foster care. IQ test it's a measure of your ability to recognize patterns. So it's all pictures. So they're not asking you questions about history, math, science, or anything like that. It is literally your ability to recognize patterns. And if you're able to quickly recognize and accurately recognize patterns, then that is what determines whether or not you have a higher IQ or a lower IQ. So it's nobody can say this is race based or anything like that. And I feel like the better measure would be individuals who have an IQ of X amount should be able to vote. Because I do agree, if you have an IQ of like 75, which is medically, you medically have MR, right? How are you able to assess who you should be voting for? How? So yeah, I think and a person that can do basic pattern recognition is more likely to vote from common sense, in my opinion. I also think they should raise the voting age from 18 to 25, because your brain is not even fully developed at the age of 18. A lot of times when you're 18, you're still heavily influenced by your parents, your family, your peer group. You don't have the life experience in the job force. Maybe a lot of people haven't even had kids yet, so they're not thinking about how certain policies will affect their children. I think 25 in an IQ test would be a better measure of whether or not you should be voting, a better standard for voting than whether or not you're male or female. Because even though, yes, liberal women tend to be overly emotional when they go to the voting poll, when you look at how many women are like voted in this election for Donald Trump versus those that did it. Sorry, my internet is acting up. You know what, Princess Peace? I'll listen to anybody too. And that's why I say I'm conservative leaning, but there are some certain things that I don't necessarily agree with. So, like on the right now, we are starting to see the rise of like a lot of these pastors saying that they don't think that women should be working. Women should, just like Nick Fuentes was saying, that women should immediately graduate high school, go have babies and get married. And I think that would prove disastrous, right? And again, as a woman, I'm not going to get on here in front like that's what I want to do with my life. I'm not saying I never want to get married. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is the bill of goods that the conservative men are trying to sell us. When I think about who I got with at the age of 18, I should not have been with that person. And then I know a lot of men will say, well, that's why y'all should have fathers in your lives to pick who you marry. But that is contingent upon you having a good father who cares about you. Because let's not forget, back in the day, a lot of men would literally just sell their daughters off. Who has the most money? It's not even about this man's character. Who can I benefit the most? So all of that is contingent upon you having a good, decent, honorable father who wants the best for you. And not every woman would even have that. I'm sorry. Nah, things just how things go. We always stayed friends. Well, that's good. I still talk to her regularly, and we've been divorced for 20 years. Well, at least y'all can be cordial. Can we please stop talking about which gender can vote or not, or should go to college? Leave that combo in the dirt with our grandparents. No, I agree. And honestly and truly, I think the reason why this conversation is coming up now, and it's a conversation that men are bringing up, is because you do have a lot of young men who do feel disenfranchised by the system. Let's be clear. Basically, since the Obama administration forward for a very long time now, women have been prioritized. And this goes back to the conversation that I was having about people need to know when they've won. Me personally, as a woman, I'm not comfortable continuing this conversation of like, okay, women making less than men and XYZ, because it's not productive at this point. I personally don't feel oppressed as a woman. I don't feel like I can't do anything that a man can't do. And honestly, the one job that I worked where I was on my job longer and I was working harder than a male counterpart that I had that was new to the job and lazy. The one job that I did work where I did know that he was making more money than me because he told me, it wasn't because the boss that hired him was a man and felt like I'm a man, so I'm gonna give a leg up to another man. It was a woman who wanted to sleep with him. It was another woman who decided to pay my peer more than me because he was very attractive to her. And there's nothing you can do in those type of situations, right? You can't blame men for that. I think in life everybody has advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes you will be in spaces where people won't give you the same opportunities or treat you the same as everybody else because you're a man, because you're a woman, because they don't like the way you look, because they don't like your attitude. Maybe a boss will treat you bad just because you're more intelligent than them, or because they don't think that you're intelligent. So I think trying to continue to mass legislate these issues is counterproductive. And then when men see minorities and women are able to get scholarships that are discriminatory, let's be clear, because I remember when I was going to college, there were many race specific scholarships, right? Like I've never seen a scholarship where this is only for white children, but I have seen scholarships specifically for African American children and nobody says anything. So I think when white men see that women have more access to scholarships because they're a woman, or a man might have more access to scholarships because he's a part of the LGBTQ community, but this is a straight white man, it is going to incite some bitterness. And that's why I say I think for a very long time we have been trying to overcorrect things that have already been corrected, and it has caused a lot of anger and bitterness in these young men. I think they feel very frustrated, like Nick Fuentes. I'll pull up the interview he did with Candace. He was talking about how like he doesn't really date, and it's very interesting to hear him say women should get married and have kids, because he's not married, he doesn't have kids, and he was saying it's very difficult for him to date because of the way he lives, because he sleeps late and he's constantly being threatened, or people will show up to his house and try to unalive him, so he feels like it would put his kids in a dangerous situation as well. And he's basically was alluding to the fact that he just couldn't be there for a family, right? But I don't think that's the end of the story, right? I don't know too many women. Like if I had to set one of my friends up with Nick Fuentes, not just because of how he thinks, I'm just thinking about him, just outward appearance and maybe a little bit personality. I couldn't get one of my friends to go on a date with Nick. I couldn't. I couldn't. He's not like he's not most girls' dream man. Does that make sense to y'all? Like he's just, and I think he knows that. And a lot of these men are tired of hearing that women don't want them or being called incels because they're unable to get a woman to sleep with them. So it's causing a lot of anger and backlash with these particular group of men. And what I will say to women is that we do need to tread lightly. Like I don't think it's right to make fun of a man because he doesn't have sexual access to women and continue to call them like names and incels and make fun of them, because y'all don't understand that's a very dangerous thing to do, honestly and truly. On a biological level, a lot of men do need to release, and on a biological level, they want to reproduce. And a lot of y'all get upset because the men say we can't wait. These type of men say we can't wait for these AI robots to come out and it's over for you women. But honestly and truly, that's the best bet. That's the best bet in this situation. That's what's going to keep you safe. But I don't think women realize just how much anger they are inciting in these young men and how much backlash is going to come from that if you continue to make fun of them when they are talking about their struggles. I agree with the aptitude test, not so much as an IQ test. Okay. Aptitude test, yes. Okay. Having said that, I believe in automatic voter registration between the age of 19 to 25. Why do you believe in automatic voter registration? I would say 27, 28. You're right. There is a big difference between 25 and 28. That 3-year period really is a huge mental jump in terms of you being able to like impulse control, you thinking about the future, the consideration that you have for others, you being more sure of what you want in life. Like I said, in 2025, we should not be having same combos our grandparents had. I agree. Because again, like there's a reason, as much as like conservative men don't want to admit it, there's a reason why women in mass chose to fight for voter rights or were a part of these huge feminist movements, and people will try to say these women were brainwashed into it. And no, I genuinely think they were just miserable and unhappy. Go talk to these older women who were alive during that time, and like they were not. I met some? Yes. Is that a majority? No. Or they will talk about how their husbands mistreated them. I know, particularly in the Black community, the conversation is always grandma was getting beat up at home. You're reading into it wrong. Facts. A mother's role is to teach her children about understanding emotions. I agree with that. A father's role is to teach his children how to control those emotions. I agree with that. I don't disagree with what you said. I think the disagreement is whether or not at a very young age, women's primary focus should be on getting married and having children. And I would argue that a woman between the ages of I would really say between 18 and 30, they lack emotional control themselves. Like they don't, I think men overestimate, or maybe they don't. I think even women overestimate the amount of emotional maturity that the majority of women have. Yes, men are more men are more likely to be violent, but in terms of just yelling and losing your shit and crying and being overly emotional and trying to manipulate, a lot of younger women don't have the maturity to manage their emotions or not make decisions based on emotions. That comes over time with age. And it's something that I'm 32 years old, and it's something that I've had to train myself to do. So it's like, how can you, at the age between the ages of 18 and 25, where they're saying women are their prime and after that it's over, how can you teach your child about emotions, right? When you can't manage your own. Women weren't doing what in mass? Yes, they were. Fighting for women's rights? Yes, they were. I wonder if we were to like take it. I'm very interested to see like if we were actually to take it to the polls, like give women a vote as to whether or not they should be able to vote or have property, or like if they want to go back to the time before women could vote. Do y'all think that women en masse would vote to go back to that time? What do you think? They were unhappy and they acted on it. These moderns who are unhappy in relationship, it's their fault, period. Don't nobody want to hear nothing. Well, maybe it is their fault. I say it's their fault because again, all the ones who I am seeing that are unhappy in their relationships got into relationships they shouldn't have been in the first place because they either A, didn't like that person, or that person just didn't treat them right before they even got married. So like, duh, you have a miserable marriage. You got with somebody you didn't like, you didn't want just because they had money, and you were in a weaker position to them. You couldn't pay your own bills, or you got with somebody who before that you pressured into marrying you that was already treating you like shit before y'all got married. So obviously that's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. These women's suffrage movements was spearheaded by men. Most women were dead against it. Okay, let me see if I can find anything on that. I have heard that there were women who opposed women's suffrage. So that was a big movement as well. Yeah, not in mass. Otherwise, how did Nixon and Reagan win by such a large amount? Why did it take 100 years? It was hardly in mass. Well, if you have women that can't vote, then it's going to take a long time because they can't vote. That's kind of like asking why did it take 200 years to end slavery in the United States? Well, because the slaves were powerless to even put it to a vote. They might have wanted to vote. They might have not wanted to be slaves, but that's not their decision. It's the people's decisions who can vote and have power in this country. A man with well honed emotion control is the most dangerous man in the room. I agree with that. Yes, he is. I'm cool with not voting as long as we can own property. I'm not cool with not voting. Because, okay, I kind of think about it like this. If they take away your right to vote, then what's to stop them from taking away your property? You get what I'm trying to say? What's to say you can't vote? What's to stop them from taking away your property? And then you'll have no say over it. Women took a while to get to that point. That's why it's been so many waves of feminism, all instigated by university professors. I don't necessarily think that that's instigated by I don't necessarily agree with that. Now what I will say is university professors, especially in like that second wave feminism, I'm thinking like Jill Steinham. Yeah, they probably spearheaded it, but I think what you had was a situation where women were already feeling this way, but they felt powerless to do anything about it. And then you had women who technically instigated it, but I think men don't want to accept the fact again. Let's go. Women have a choice now. Women have a choice now. So if women really wanted to go back, and we have a choice to do that, women have a choice to say, I want to get married. I want to stay out of the workforce. I want my husband to. Women don't have to vote. They vote because they want to. You don't have to vote. Women could say, I want to get married. I'm not going to vote anymore. I'm going to let my husband make all the decisions in the household, and I just want to stay home and cook and clean. They're choosing not to do that. They're choosing not to do that. They're to buy their own houses and bank accounts. A lot I'm sorry, my service is going in and out. It's really bad right now. All these conservative women, can y'all hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me. All these conservative women are lying to y'all. They're lying. These trad wives, they're lying. They're making their money. I don't care if your husband is paying all the bills. They're making their money, stacking it, putting it in a bank account somewhere, getting on the internet, shopping, looking cute, doing stuff that women want to do. Okay, good. Women not voting is insane. Yeah, but here's the thing. If women didn't want to, like now, let's talk about now in 2025. If women felt like they don't want, if women feel like they don't want to vote and they truly will be happier in the home with the husband between the ages of 18 and 25, nobody is stopping them from doing that. And you could say it's because the media is brainwashing them into wanting to go to college and get an education. And you know what? I'll say, yeah, all of us were brainwashed to go to college right out of high school. That's not just a woman thing, right? But again, as they get older and they mature after like 25, they're still deciding to take a different path. And I think men have to come to terms with that. And I think women have to be honest about that, but not in a way that antagonizes the men, you know? And I think that's the problem. The men feel antagonized. There are some things that we need to be willing to give up. Like women, you can't be dependent on DEI and trying to force people to give you opportunities because you're claiming that women are still oppressed in 2025. It's absolutely not the case. And we need to let that narrative go. We do. And stop antagonizing the men. Stop telling them you don't want them. Stop doing that. We're getting ready to lose our rights. I'm telling y'all. Nah, most decent marriages with good kids in a good neighborhood are two professionals. They both work and are college educated. Yeah, every relationship that I have seen where the woman is genuinely happy, she's not lying, she's not putting on, she speaks highly of her husband when he's not around other women. That woman, if her husband left her today, could go take care of herself. She's either college educated, or in one situation she wasn't college educated, but she worked all her life and she had retirement money coming in. And like a lot of these conservative men want to force a woman into a situation where she is powerless and try to force her into liking the situation. But what they don't understand, over the long run, over a long period of time, that man is going to end up miserable. That's where you get these situations where it's like, she left me and she took half of all my money. Or, I found her cheating with another dude that looks nothing like you because she's cheating with she was cheating with a pool boy. Or, you feel like she doesn't respect you. And it's because, yeah, you're trying to force these women into a situation that's not natural for them. And I'm not saying that that's the reason for all divorces. I'm talking about a very specific set of circumstances. Honestly, I stay away from those women, Mariah, and warn their husbands. Those are not good women. They are playing games. I mean, honestly and truly, why would I warn their husbands? For what? They're just venting to me. Why would I warn their husbands? Because a lot of times when I listen to their husbands and their past, for example, I knew of one situation where there was a younger girl. She got with an older man, and she was the one kind of like running around on him because she didn't want him to begin with because he was older. But he finally convinced her to settle down with him. But like, at first I felt bad for him, but then I learned in his previous marriage to a woman who was his same age, who was doing well financially, he didn't have to take care of her. He felt so insecure that he was cheating on that woman. So, I mean, it's that was like karma, like you're getting back what you did to another person. Both, like, yeah, I'm not saying the woman is right. I personally wouldn't be in a situation like that, but I think these situations are far more complex than people let on. That's not a conservative thing. What do you mean? Hey, Sultry, what's up, girl? It's good to see you. We're talking about how, like, on the right, there's this movement. I don't even want to say movement because I don't even think this is the majority of conservative men, but I do think you have some of the loudest voices on the side of conservative men who are putting out ideas like women shouldn't vote or their job is to stay home and take care of children, right? I don't think that that is the majority of conservative men. I think you do have a very loud group that has a lot of attention on them right now that is saying that. And it makes a lot of women, especially women who are liberals, when they see this, they look at women like myself who are Trump supporters or more conservative leaning and say, well, how could you be in alignment with a group like that when they want to take away your rights as a woman, or they don't even think that your opinion matters? And honestly, that is a very valid criticism and critique to that, which I would say there are other issues to me that are far more pressing than that. You understand? So, like, for example, if I have to think about the like safety in our country, if I had to give up my right to vote for like safety and the economy being good, then obviously and honestly and truly, I'm going to pick safety in the economy because I have a daughter and I'm thinking about her future. I would rather live in a world where I can vote and we have a good economy and it be safe, and that my children don't have to compete with wages that are racing to the bottom because of illegal immigration. Like, I'd rather live in that world, but honestly and truly, I'm going to prioritize safety and the economy over my right to vote. Does that make sense? And that might sound stupid to somebody else, but I honestly think that it's stupid that you would rather be voting but live in a country where you can't even walk outside without living in fear of getting raped because we've just been overwhelmed with single military age men who don't have access to a woman, or you have to live in a place like DC where if somebody does something like that to you because they have no cash bail, they're released on the streets the next day. Or if your husband beats you up and you file a restraining order on him, he's out the next day to come unalive you. I don't know. It's very complicated. I think people are scrambling to get back to the old ways because a lot of people feel uncomfortable and stuck in the unknown. I think so too. I think, like, first of all, a lot of people romanticize the past because they weren't there. And to be honest, there were some things that were better in the past. People had more time for family. People had time to sit down and eat dinner with their family. People had the food was healthier. You didn't have to worry about being unalive because of the food that you were eating every single night. But at the same time, I think people like to point to one particular decade and act like that was the entirety of American history. Let's be clear. Black women and poor white women from that came in during the second industrial revolution from places like Ireland and Italy and Eastern Europe, they were always in the workforce. Always. You only had, for like the entirety of American history, upper middle class white women who were able to stay home. But that has never been the majority. So then you get this period of time where you had all this government assistance given to these men after World War II, and they were able to start families, and women were able to stay home and take care of the children, and the economy was booming. But like that was never that was never the reality for the entire period of American history. That was a very short period of time, but we act like that's the entire story. Like, we act like from 1960 and below, that is the way the vast majority of Americans were living, and it's just not true. It's not true for Black women. It's not true for white women that came here as immigrants or poor white women. It's not true for Asian women. It's not true for the majority of us. Most people had to work, or at least work on the farm or something like that. It wasn't necessarily a situation where you had women that had these secretary jobs in the city, but you had women working in factories, making clothes. We all mess with the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I feel that if a woman finds a man who is willing to provide for her with the life she deserves, then she should give the world the gift of another child or four. But what if she doesn't want the kids? Is she obligated? If she finds a man that's willing to provide for her, but she doesn't want the kids, is she obligated to have the kids? Because that's when I see situations where the mother is very toxic or doesn't treat the kids right. So I personally feel like only women that want kids should have kids, and that is for the safety and the sake of those children. I don't think that it's a good idea to try to force women into having kids or try to tell them that is your job, because that's when you have situations where you have women mistreating their kids. A lot of people act like that doesn't happen. That happens. Or women just packing up their bags. They act like it's only men that used to say they were going to the store to get some milk. No, women were doing that kind of thing as well back in the day. And just saying, I want to run away and start a whole new life. I was watching a woman on TikTok who did that. She was like, I just needed something new. So I only think that women who want children free of coercion or being shamed into having kids should have kids. Best relationship between men and women in race relations was the 2000s. Well, I wasn't grown by then, so I didn't know. I don't know about that. I was a kid myself. My nephew has a beautiful wife and 5 children, a farm with livestock, fresh meat, eggs, veggies, and fruit. It is doable to be self-sustainable, but you have to want to do it. Yeah, I agree. And I think men should only date women who want to do that. Like, if that's what you want for your life as a man, you should not try to convince women that don't want to live that way to live that way. Find a woman there, and there are many women out there like this, right? I grew up with a lot of girls who were like, the only thing I want to do is get married and be a mom. And that's how they're living right now. There are plenty of women who, and you got to know how to spot them. She might not be let me say that. Let me not say that. You got to know how to spot them. You got to get a woman who is like not super ambitious, doesn't really have an outgoing personality or anything like that. And I'm not saying all women who want to live like that are like that. I'm saying this is where you're more likely to find those women. Like a woman who has way too much going for her, she's going to be considering all the opportunities that she's going to be missing out on if she does that. Do you understand? And that's just the reality of the situation. My family had a farm, but didn't necessarily work. You're right. Making clothes, food, soaps as well. Yeah, women have been doing work. Women have been laboring outside of just cooking, cleaning, and taking care of kids. Women have been helping their families in the United States bring in money since before the United States was even its own country, since we were colonies. Women were coming over from England and Ireland as indentured servants. Women getting back to those traditional roles, I doubt it would make things go back to being simple, Jamal. Technology to advance. Yeah, times have changed and people just need to accept that. Some conversations we just need to get off of because they're not realistic. And a lot of women are afraid to, like, they watch these shows like The Handmaid's Tale and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna go back to that. But honestly and truly, it's just not practical. It's not even practical. Naturally, that should be a conversation had way before the marriage and home come into play. Yeah, but you know what the problem is, Pig Daddy? These men, the reason why it's such a big deal and the men are not getting with women who are already want this, because most of the women who want to live that way are not super hot. So I'm not saying, I'm pretty sure there are some baddies that are on the farm, right? But like, what you see is kind of like these men like Nick Fuentes and Sneeko and Fresh and Fit. They want to try to convince women that are super hot and have a lot of things going for them to want the things that they want in life, and they don't want it. And it's like, you're just wasting your breath at this point. Go find the woman that wants what you want and put the whole looks thing to the side. But the problem is they want it all. They want a woman that's super hot and wants to work on the farm and have 5 kids and is still going to be hot after having 5 kids. And that's not life. You got to be willing to like sacrifice here. Okay. With that said, guys, thank y'all for showing up. I have to get off of here because I have to teach a lesson in 2 minutes. I would say go after girls who read books and like to cook. Yeah, but even a girl that reads books and likes to cook, that don't necessarily mean she want to be laboring on a farm or taking care of kids, you know? Okay, guys, you're talking about liberal hippie chicks. Okay, I might be. We'll continue this discussion another day, y'all. Y'all have a good night.